Good morning, songwriters. So here's what we want to do today. I want to discuss um, a topic that was brought up in in one of my questions about how or what topics do you guys need to know about that's going to help you become more successful. And um, a, so a very common thing, came up, that's collaboration, how collaborating can help a songwriter, etc. And the situation brought up, excuse my voice, I'm getting over something that I came down with this weekend. But in any case, the songwriter is a lyricist and not a musician. Okay, this is very, very common, or vice versa. A lyricist is someone who writes lyrics, words. That's it. All right, they're not musically inclined at all, and this is a great way to go about things. Not really a problem at all. I mean, a lot of people who know how to write words do not also know how to write music, and that's okay. But it's going to be important at some point that you collaborate with a musician so that you can get the song completed, okay? Because a song is both lyrics and melody obviously requires music, okay? And kind of a sidestep to that, it does require music, and yes, you might just be a lyricist, and sometimes when you're writing the words, you can try to sing them to yourself and see if that kind of gets a melody going. That also helps in collaboration because you can take the idea of what you think your song should sound like, and you can take that to a musician. For example, you have some words, you take that to a musician and you say, okay, here's what I think that the lyrics sound like, and you start singing it. Okay, it's just an acapella example, and I can give the musician kind of a direction to go in with your song. Now, if you're just a lyricist and you're not a musician, you can be the only songwriter on that song, but it's going to be extremely important for you to have already come up with the melody, and then you can do that without being a musician or knowing how to play an instrument. Okay, like I said, you have your lyrics written down, you're pretty set on how it is, and you sing it into the voice recorder on your phone or some other tool that you have, and then you take that to a musician. And if it's complete, if your melody is complete and your lyrics are complete, then you are the songwriter on that song, and that musician is going to be a work for hire type agreement, okay? So they're basically just going to help you form the chord progressions and things like that. So there is a difference, guys, all right? Now, when you're doing something like that, where you're taking it to a musician and you're doing a work for hire thing, it needs to be said in up front, okay? Please. I have to urge people to do this all the time. Your intellectual property is your intellectual property. You want to make sure that it stays that way. If you are taking your lyrics and your melody to a musician to help you put music behind your song, that does not mean they are a co-writer, okay? And if your lyric and your melody are complete and your song is done, your copyright is yours, okay? And you need to make sure it stays that way. So if you're going into a musician to help them put music behind your songs, that is a work for hire, and you need to have that agreement on paper with signatures and information to make sure that that is very clear. If you write a hit song, if you write the next Jason Aldean, She's Country, and you went to a musician to help you put music, not your melody, okay? You've already built the lyrics and you've already built the melody. You're taking a musician or a producer to help you put music behind your song. That does not make them a co-writer. And that song is, if it's out there publicly, if it's being pushed, it's going to become a hit Jason Aldean's She's Country did become a hit, and that is going to be an issue if you do not have a work for hire agreement on paper, all right, with those musicians. Now, if you just have the lyrics and you have no idea how to form a melody and all that kind of stuff, that is a situation where you need a collaborator, you need a co-writer, okay? Because again, a song is lyrics, melody, okay? So there's a big difference between that. And if you have any questions or I need to clear that up with you, just either type your question in the comments, or you can send me a direct message and we can talk more about that process. Okay, so getting into collaboration, it's a big, scary monster, okay? It is. It's like dating, okay? And dating can be really scary, all right? It can be extremely dramatic. And the thing is that we're in the business of fun, all right? Songwriting and creativity and all that stuff should be fun, you know? And in my opinion, so should dating, okay? But you've got to pick the right people, all right? Because if you don't pick the right people to date, if you don't pick the right people to collaborate with, and turn into a nightmare real fast. Now, I'm not trying to scare everybody, okay? But in my experience, I've come across some situations where collaboration was a huge waste of time. It was a miserable experience, and I just want to save you guys the heartache, okay? So it's like dating, okay? Take it slow. First, you need a collaborator. Why do you need a collaborator? Okay, do you need lyrics? Do you need melody? Do you need help with both of them? Whatever it is, figure out why you need a collaborator. And I have absolutely encouraged collaborating. It's the best stuff that I've written is with a collaborator. Why 2 brains are better than 1, 3 are better than 1, 4 better than 2, 7 people in the room, you know, cranking out a song, especially if those people are talented and creative people to work with, you're going to come up with a better product most of the time than when you're just working on it on your own, okay? Doesn't mean you can't write a song by yourself. Sometimes that is what's necessary to happen because nobody else is going to get the concept of the song that you're writing, but a lot of times you can bring a collaborator in and it's going to add to the experience of that song. It's going to add to the story. It's going to add to the amount of content that you have to draw from and build your song off of. So, but it is very much like dating, okay? So take it slow. I've written everything down in the description of this post to kind of give you guys pointers, okay? And we're going to go into a little bit of discussion about all of these things. So let's go ahead and get into that, all right? When you're looking to find somebody to collaborate with, start off with a conversation, okay? And the conversation is fairly simple, you know, and you can get to know a lot about somebody with a conversation. Get to know them, okay? Like, what do they do? Why are they, you know, how are they a songwriter? What, you know, what songs have they written in the past? What do they do for a living? Like, what, you know, all of these other things. Like, find out about that person more than just, oh, they write songs too, okay? It's important because to have that conversation, you're going to start to see whether or not you guys vibe in conversation, if you like talking to each other, okay? That's a big thing. Chemistry is huge, okay? So, and you can have that conversation, and if it goes well and you're like, okay, yeah, I like this person. I think this person is a nice person. I think that they have a lot of great ideas. I think, you know, whatever, okay? You just get along with them and you mesh well with them. The chemistry's there, then, you know, you've got a great way, you've got a good start, okay, on collaborating with them. Here's a couple things to consider when you are choosing to actually collaborate with someone, all right? We've already talked about getting along with them, all right? Do they mesh well with your style? Okay, that is a big thing. I am a country songwriter, okay? I know the certain genres that my country music crossroads with. Okay. I am not going to choose a co-writer who is a hip hop writer. Okay, I'm just not going to do that. Why? Because hip hop has absolutely nothing to do with my style. Okay, it doesn't necessarily mean that that person can't bring anything to the table, but most likely the goals for the goals for the song are going to be different. They write songs that in a way that and write lyrics in a way that I would not write them. There's various other things where somebody that has nothing to do with my genre or my subgenres or any of those types of things, it just doesn't work. Okay, so do they mesh well with your style? Okay, if you are writing a hip hop song, that's a subgenre of country music, then a hip hop writer would be great, or a rap writer, or anything like that. That would be a great collaboration. So just make sure that whatever style that you're writing or whatever your goal is for that song, that they mesh with that. They mesh with that style. Also, the level of seriousness of a co-writer needs to be there in a way, okay? Or at least it needs to be brought up in conversation, okay? If you are a songwriter that is pounding the pavement for your songs, you are doing all the work that needs to be done to make sure that your songs see a place in the world, okay? And that can be a lot of different levels, okay? That can mean that you're finding artists for your songs, or you're even finding publishers for your songs, or you're finding placements for your songs. Like, that's a level of seriousness that you need to make sure that your co-writers kind of have that level of seriousness. And if you are just writing songs because you love to write songs, and you're finding someone who is writing songs just because they love to have songs, and there doesn't need to be a direction, and there doesn't need to be a purpose, and there doesn't need to be a business behind it and all that, that's great, but it needs to be addressed, okay? I will typically write with songwriters who want to see their song reach a higher level, reach a bigger name artist, be a cut on an album, possibly a hit song. Like, I write with writers that typically have that kind of equal goal, okay? Even if the writer isn't super well connected and that kind of thing. My puppy. Say hi, Talia. Talia, what are you doing? Are you saying hi to everybody? Yeah, okay. For me, really, it just depends on the talent of the person. I don't necessarily need someone who's out there pounding the pavement like I am for my songs. But in any rate, you need to find someone who matches your level of seriousness. Excuse me one second, I'm gonna let her out. Go. All right. You can bring up the topic of how that other collaborator has been working with other writers, okay? Their history of collaboration, that's big. All right, so now typically what I ask writers who might want to write with me, that kind of stuff, is what kind of history of collaboration do you have in the past? What songs have you written with other people, blah, 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 because I want to see that person has some work in the past, and because I typically don't want to be their first collaborating experience, because again, you never know how that's going to go. It's not always the case, but most of the time it is the case. So find out about that, find out that information, and then you can make a decision on whether or not that's important for you. Now, so do's during a song during a collaboration. Okay, do these things. Okay, it's very important. Have the conversation, get to know them, find out about their past works. Okay, and then when you decide that you want to sit in a room with them and collaborate on a song, it is very important for you to discuss whether or not how you are going to split credit on that song. Okay, I do the Nashville way. If I sit down with a collaborator, if it's just one collaborator, it means there's two people in the room, then we're 50-50 on everything. If there are three, 33%. If there are four, 25%, and you get the picture. That's the Nashville way. If you're doing it the Los Angeles way, then you might nitpick what credit a certain person gets based on how much they contribute to writing the song. But that's just not the way that I do it. I don't want to get complicated about it. And if you're in the room, you get a credit, equal credit. Also, it's, and this is getting into a little bit of the business side of things, but if you're collaborating with one other person, it's two people, right? There are two different royalties, okay? Two ways to think of song ownership, okay? Songwriter, publisher, okay? Now, when you're collaborating with one other person, I will typically split the songwriter share 50-50, okay? And the publishing share 50-50. But do realize that there are two different ownerships of that song. There's a songwriter ownership and there's the publisher ownership. If you don't have a publisher, you are the publisher, okay? But please realize there are two different ownerships to that song, okay? Songwriter, publisher. And a publisher, in layman terms, is basically the person who's going to find that song a place in the world, okay? That's what publishers do, all right? They find placements for songs in the world. And they push that song and they shop that song and blah, 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 okay? So if you don't have a publisher, you are the publisher, okay? You're not only the songwriter, but you're the publisher. Now, for me, most of the time when I come across somebody who wants to collaborate with me that I actually want to sit down and collaborate with, I know how hard I'm working to get that song published, okay? Now, if I see that my co-writer does not have the same connections that I do, or any connections at all, they do not act as a publisher at all, then I will ask my co-writer, is it cool with you if I take 100% of the publishing, okay? I will ask that because I know for a fact that I'm going to go out there and I'm going to find a place in the world for the song that we're going to write. And I know for a fact that they are not, okay? So that's something that I will ask, and it is a bullet point to writing with me. If you see that that's something that kind of falls in line with the way that you're doing things, we can have a bigger discussion about what that means, okay? Because that person will have to sign over their share of publishing to you, okay? It doesn't mean that you just automatically own it. They will have to sign that over to you, and that's paperwork, okay? It's not very complicated paperwork, but it is paperwork. And it typically comes in the form of a 1 year, 1 year, one song publishing agreement, okay? Where they are signing their publishing over to you for 1 year on that song, so that way you can get the work done, okay? Basically, they're signing you, your co-writer or co-writers are signing you as their publisher for that song. And we can get a little bit more into the discussion about that, but you realize that you need to discuss that before the song's written if you're doing songwriting at all as a business. It's also very important before pen hits paper that you discuss the goal and the purpose for writing the song that you're about to write. Are you writing for an artist? Are you writing to get a cut? Are you writing for radio? Are you writing just to have fun? And so discuss those things. Okay, who's going to end up singing the song? If you don't know, that's okay, but you still need to have a goal to say, oh, I want Keith Urban to sing this song. He's my favorite artist. Okay, well, make sure that song ends up like something Keith would cut. Okay, so those things need to be important. Typically, if I'm writing with a co-writer, it's because I am going to sing that song, potentially. Okay, so that will be discussed before we put pen to paper. If that's not the case and we're writing for a song we want to pitch to Carrie Underwood, we still discuss that, because that is how the song will be constructed thereafter. Okay, because you're looking at the individual that is actually going to end up singing that song. And if it's one of the co-writers, great, then that song needs to be constructed so that way it fits that that co-writer, that artist. Okay, if you're, maybe you're writing for video games, then obviously, you have something in mind where you're writing for video games, and that's going to be the way that the song pans out at the end. And then, if you're writing just for fun, then whatever, just write, But if you're writing to have a number one hit, then it's going to change the way that you write that song, because number one hits, they're in a different category, and you need to pay attention to other number one hits to make sure that they're matching up, okay, that they're filling those shoes, because number one hits they're number one hits for a reason, okay, because they're great lyrically, they're great melodically, and they're produced well. So just have an idea of what you want that song to do. The other when you're collaborating is to be on time, okay? Be prepared, all right? Which means that if you guys haven't, talk about things before you get into a room. What do you want to write? Is there a specific hook? Is there a specific purpose? Is there a specific feel? Do you have ideas? Whatever. And then before you come into the room, have some things already pre-written to bring to the table. Okay, this really helps the process. Plus, when you're sitting in a room, and sometimes with a new collaborator, it goes like this. Oh, I'm super excited you're here. We're going to write us a great hit song. All right, what are your ideas? Huh. Get it? Is why? Because, it can be nerve-wracking sitting in a room trying to come up with something creative like that, and all of a sudden your mind goes blank. Okay, so you have all this time to prepare for a co-write where you're not under pressure. Okay, you're just existing and everything, and you're going through your normal day-to-day life, and things are happening, right? So you have an idea of what you want to write. Take experiences that you're going through, for a few days leading up to that co-write, to write down things. How do the experiences that you have in going on in your life apply to what you're about to sit down and write with this person, right? Because things fly, so many things. Catch those things, put them down on paper, prepare to sit down, and then what happens when you've done that and you've got now like a load of content that you've written the days leading up to that co-write, you can bring those things to the table, so that way you don't go, oh, so nice to meet you, I'm glad we finally got to do this, and then nothing happens, nothing comes, because you're stressed out, because you're in a brand new room with a brand new person and no idea what to do, right? When you have some stuff already written down that's been happening, what's going to do is going to jog your memory about those days, about those experiences, about the times that oh man, when you had that idea and then stories are going to come up, and then all this other kind of stuff, okay? And it'll keep the creativity flowing. So be prepared, all right? Another thing is be fun to work with, okay? If you're not coming into the co-write with the best attitude, that's not going to be fun for anyone. Not going to be fun for you. It's not going to be fun for your co-writer. Most likely it's never going to happen again. So be fun to work with. We'll leave that one at that. Follow procedures, okay? Follow a process. I have a lot of processes that I do. If you want to know about my processes, we'll talk about them in a separate live, but follow a process. Why? Because following a process is going to help keep your creative juices flowing, okay? It's going to help you design a story. It's going to help you keep the ideas coming, okay? And keep you from getting stunted and having that dreaded writer's block. So a lot of times, writer's block can happen anyway, but follow a process and you'll be a little bit more successful. Excuse me. It'll keep the creative juices flowing. Very important too. Finish the song. Hash it out, okay? There's nothing worse than leaving a co-write where you haven't finished the song, because I'm telling you what, the chances of you going back and finishing that song are extremely, extremely small. Very, very unlikely that you're going to come back to that song and finish it. So it's very, very important that when you sit down, that you finish that song. Okay? After you finish the song, it's very important that you schedule a rewrite. Okay? Find a date, find a time, and go back through that song. Now, let it be a week later, okay, or something. Give yourself some time to digest what you've just written with this person, okay? Because I'm telling you, there's so many times that I've written something and I'll go back and I'll be singing it and I'll be like, well, this just doesn't sound natural when I'm singing it. It sounds a little bit more natural worded this way. And that's a right. Those are very important elements that you can address leading up to the date and time that you set a rewrite, okay? Sing the song, listen to the song, okay? If you are a lyricist and you are not a melody writer, fine, that's fine. But still, speak your words. Like, take the words that you've written and read them out loud to yourself, okay? Because that right there is a really easy tool for you to use to know how your song needs to be rewritten. And listen, if you're trying to write a hit song, you have to rewrite. Gonna say it again. You have to rewrite, okay? Very common saying in Nashville is hits are not written. Hits are rewritten. You have to rewrite, okay? And that's just going to depend on how serious you are about songwriting, whether or not you actually take that and heed that advice. Okay, don'ts. Don't jump too quickly into a collaboration, especially if the song or the hook is very important to you. When you go into a collaboration, that's it, okay? You put the hook out there and you start writing on that hook, is very taboo to ever go back and write that same thing with somebody else and not include your collaborator. So if that collaboration turns into a nightmare and you had a really, really good idea that you brought to the table, you kind of just wasted it. Now, I mean, you can hash that thing out on your own, but you still got that collaborator hooked to that song no matter what. So make sure that, especially if the idea or the song is very important to you, that you are choosing the right collaborators to see that song through fruition. Don't shoot from the hip a lot of times. Like I said, you're going to find that writer's block happens a lot more when you're just shooting from the hip and you have no idea, you've done no preparation, and Problems may not come up at the particular time, but problems may come up with that collaboration a little bit later down the road if that song, possibly another artist wants to pick up that song or whatever, and you guys haven't already pre-discussed what you are going to do with that song, or songwriter splits or publishing or any of those particular types of things. Those things need to be discussed up front. So don't just shoot from the hip. Make sure that you discuss those very important details. Extremely important. Don't be an asshole. Don't be a one-upper. Don't be a know-it-all. Nobody likes working with that person. Nobody. They're not fun to work with. I've worked with those people. We never wrote again. And this is typically the song that we were on during that session didn't do anything, okay? I never talked to them again. I never pulled that song out again. I never worked on that song idea again. Like, that was it. So please don't be that person. And you'll have a lot of successful collaborations. And don't work with those people. If a lot of times a discussion beforehand, and don't go into a conversation with a possible collaborator with rose-colored glasses. A lot of times, if someone is going to be an asshole or a know-it-all or a one-upper during a co-write, they're going to be that way in the initial conversation that you have with them. So pay attention. Another thing too is, and it happens all the time, writer's block. Okay? Don't get discouraged. It's all right. If you sit down to write a song with a collaborator and you guys are having writer's block on something, I mean, obviously, a lot of people can have ideas and that kind of stuff. But let's just say that you're not coming up with anything that's really moving you, okay? That's all right. Go have a drink with that collaborator. Go have lunch. Get out into the world with that person and let something happen. Let conversation happen. Let an experience happen that moves you, and then most likely an idea will come up that you can collaborate on, okay? So if you're experiencing writer's block, that's fine. Stop what you are doing and go do something else, okay? Let your brain move into different environments and possibly be moved to write something different, okay? Or possibly go in a different direction, or possibly come up with a different hook or song title idea or any of those particular things. The biggest thing is just don't get discouraged, okay? If you start getting stressed out, it's going to block your creativity even harder. So in any case, I wanted to keep this video under 30 minutes, but I'm a little over right now. No big deal. If you guys have any questions on anything that's been discussed today, please let me know. You can write your questions in the comments. You can send me a direct message. Yeah, and let's keep the discussion going, guys. All right. I'm always looking for more topics to discuss. My biggest thing now is trying to get on a solid posting schedule with Songwriter 101, and I believe the conclusion is Mondays. I'm going to put out a live video like this on an important songwriting topic, and then throughout the week, I am going to post tips and creativity fuelers, whatever, kind of randomly throughout the week. Basically because I want to keep the discussion going about certain things. I want to challenge you guys creatively, and I want to encourage, collaboration within the group, various other things. If you need anything, let me know. I just created a phone line where you guys can text or call me. If you call, please call during normal business hours. Whatever that means to you is fine. My normal business hours are a little bit weird, typically 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. is what I would consider my normal work hours. If you call outside of that time, most likely I will not answer. But if you text me, but regardless, I'll always get back to you. Okay, regardless, I'll always get back to you. Texting probably is the best bet first, but if you need something, you can call. The number is 813-336-1102. It's brand new. I haven't even memorized it yet. 813-336-1102. You can text me questions, discussion topics, things that you need. If you're in a situation you don't know how to deal with it, if you need anything, whatever, just send me a text or give me a call during normal business hours, and I will get back to you ASAP. Okay, I'm here for you guys. I want to see you grow as a songwriter. I want to see you productive as a songwriter. So if there's any way I can make that happen, please let me know. All right. I will see you guys a little bit later on, and have a wonderful day. All right. See you.